Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. Let's dive into another one of these crazy MTG Rocks articles talking about a bunch of speculative bets on the MTG Finance subreddit. The first one here is actually like shockingly rational. This guy, he makes a really good case. He says that this Liquid Metal Torque card, it's a two mana stone, and it comes into play untapped, which is he says is kind of infrequent, and he says that it should have popularity in monocolor decks, in commander decks, and he names all these really good reasons. It's the retro frame version of the card is what he's invested in. It's an artifact. It's uncommon, meaning that there will be fewer of them in existence, and the prices will tend to be a little higher. And he shows that he really understands a lot about this. It's interesting to see someone on this side of it. And so he says he got about 60 copies of it, and they ask him what he expects, and he basically says that his basis is $1 per card, and he expects it to reach $5 a card in value within a year of Modern Horizons 2 going out of print. And again, that shows a lot of maturity and understanding that he realizes, hey, the set has to go out of print before a lot of these cards will start moving in value. Now, he says he thinks that people will recognize in the future that this is a staple card. I'm a little bit skeptical of that. There's no hidden information there that will be discovered in the future. He's just kind of betting that maybe the meta environment will shift a little bit, or people will realize this card exists where there's nothing preventing them from realizing it now. So that's kind of the only weird thing. And he actually uses the term exit strategy, and he says that he'll just buy list the cards. And that's great because a lot of people who are kind of amateur investors, they look at buy lists and they see that the buy list might pay them 30 or 40 or 50% of the market value of the card, and they get really angry because they don't understand that getting market value for the card requires the input of a lot of time and other expenses, shipping and other things, market fees. And so the fact that this guy says, hey, I'll just buy list it, take the reduced value, and walk away, that's really good. And so he thinks that he could buy list for $2 or $3, maybe get a store credit bonus, and overall turn $50 into $150 to $200 of store credit in a year. And, compared to a lot of these other bets that are out there, the previous video I did and this one, this guy really, he understands how this stuff works. So, I mean, kudos to him, and he's kind of picked a good card, I guess. I'm always a fan of, instead of buying 200 copies of some junk card, buy 2 or 3 copies of a really good card. Or instead of buying 10,000 shares of a speculative penny stock, buy 1 share of an S&P 500 index ETF. Things like that are going to be better investments because the deadweight costs of things like transaction fees and market fees and stuff like that, those are going to weigh on you less if you're transacting fewer cards. And so it's always better to just buy a fewer number of more expensive assets than a greater number of less expensive assets. But, and he even acknowledges the intent here isn't to get rich, but to offset the cost of playing and collecting Magic. And that's what I say all the time. Your TCG investing hobby needs to be part of supplementing the cost of playing card games and enjoying them. And so I think this guy actually has most of the things figured out and is pretty rational and has reasonable expectations. If you go through the process of identifying an asset, articulating the catalyst, stating an expectation, having an exit strategy, and identifying the risks, he's done most of that here, and he's done it pretty rationally. I do think he still would have been better off just, buying maybe one booster box of cards. Maybe he'll come out better in the end. And certainly the amount of effort he'll have to spend will be lower, but not bad overall. So the second one is this guy who's invested in Mudhole, which apparently it was printed, I think that's Odyssey is the symbol. So way back in like the early 2000s, this was printed. It was reprinted in a secret lair, and that's it. It's not a popular card. It's not very good. And he says that his investment in it is more of a joke than anything. It's a crappy card. If you just want to do this kind of thing to kind of, vicariously live the life or something, or just kind of be part of the community, I guess that's okay. And it seems this guy really doesn't have an expectation of making any money off of it. He's got over 100 copies, and he says he got them for less than 50 cents. So I'm just going to round that up to 50 cents. And if he could make $1 in profit, he'd consider it a win. And the problem here is the problem that always happens when you buy a whole bunch of copies of a super cheap card. It's for you to make $1 in profit, you're going to have to sell that card for about $2.50. So if you sell it for $2.50, you'll have about 25 cents in transaction fees, 75 cents in shipping. So that'll take $1 off of that $2.50 you sold it for. Then your basis is 50 cents and you're left with $1 of profit. So for it to go from 50 cents to $2.50, that means it has to quintuple in price. And this is a 20-year-old card and it's never really moved anywhere. I mean, let's look. What's the price right now? You can get near mint copies for 25 cents from TCG Direct. And he says there's another guy out there who's trying to collect all the mud holes in existence, so maybe I'll just sell them off to that dude. And, I'd say go ahead. If you can contact that guy, sell them off, get out of this. There's never going to be any money here, because if you contact that guy and you say, hey, I'll sell you all my mud holes, he's going to come do this exact same search here, where he looks for TCG Direct, near mint, and he's going to say, oh, look, I can get even near mint copies for 25, 30, 40 cents. So, maybe he'll offer to buy all of them for 30 cents each. So you've lost 40% of your investment right off the top. And then you're going to have to ship the cards to him. So, there's probably never going to be any money in this bet. It's all just lost money at this point on this one. So the third one of this article, this person says they came back to Magic recently and they decided to make all these bets on these single cards. And from the picture there, it looks like all the cards are there. Maybe they haven't started selling any. And they've spent about $1,000 on all of the various bets they've made. And really, I'll go through some of the math on this stuff, but this person is probably down over 100%. And again, it comes back to that problem of investing in cheap cards and a lot of copies of them, because it's the shipping costs that are going to slaughter you. And so the first one, the Celestis, they say 82 copies for $1 each. Well, okay, the current cost is about $1.70. And so if they were to sell their copies on TCG Player and pay market fees and pay shipping, they'll end up at about negative 25 cents each. So they'll have to pay a further 25 cents over what they've already spent to acquire the card just to get rid of it at this point. And so essentially the value of that investment in this card right now is negative 125%. The next one, Augur of Autumn, they bought 8 copies for $6. So what's it going for right now? About $7. And so again, after they sell it, they're going to have to pay another 45 cents over what they've initially paid for the card to get out of it. So they're down 108% on this investment right now. And I think this person just doesn't realize when you go to sell these cards, the increase in value of the card has to cover your shipping and market fees. And that's why investing in tons of copies of cheap stuff is not a good idea. Moon Silver Key, they didn't name their basis cost. And so, I just looked at the chart here and I said, hey, maybe they bought it at the all-time low of 93 cents. I gave them all the credit I could. And so given that the current cost is what, 160, 170, they're going to have to pay another nickel to get out of this. And so they're down 105%. Fighter Class, they bought 30 copies for $1.75 each. And if we look, current price is about $2.40. And so they're down 114% on this one. These 3 cards, they give their basis costs there. And if you do the math going through on TCG Player for the current cost of these cards, on the Kumena card, they're down 137%. On the Thieving Skydiver normal version, just the extended art, not the extended art foil, they're actually up a whole 5.5%. If they were to liquidate their position, they would make 10 cents of profit per card. And on the foil version, they're down 125%. So the last one, Reliquary Tower, says they got a really good deal and they bought 30 copies for 80 cents each. And hey, that's great because right now they're going for what, 250, 270, maybe $3, somewhere around there each. And so, you know what? They're actually up 140% on this card. Every one of them they could sell, they could make $1.15 profit. And, you know, that would just do the very, very minimum towards getting back to zero on all the rest of these bets, most of which are down over 100%. And so again, it's the problem of investing in lots of copies of a cheap card. If instead they had taken that $1,000 and they had bought, I don't know, 4 boxes of Modern Horizons 2 set boosters, you know what? The price would not have moved any right now, but in 24 months from now, they'd be up a lot more than they're going to be up overall on these bets. I don't know that in aggregate, these bets will ever even get back to zero. And, you know, it's kind of a hard lesson to learn, but investing like this is not the way to go. You have too much dead weight drag from shipping fees and market fees. There's parts of the market fee that are percentage of the sale, and there's a part that's just static. For every sale, you have to pay, maybe it's 30 cents, I think, on eBay. TCG Player has their own amount. And so all these little sales add up, and they hurt worse than proportionally larger sales. So, you know, it's good to see this first guy. He's thought things through. He actually understands a lot of this. I would just say this guy needs to go towards selling sealed product. Of course, that's what I would suggest to everything. That's what I do. So, of course, I favor that one. So, hey, there's another one of these articles out there I'm going to record a video for, post it up in a couple days. So if you like this kind of thing, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade, where I screw around investing in sealed product and, you know, trying to build a community of people who want to get better at this, want to know what's going on, and just enjoy it with me. Thanks a lot.